Breaking at 4, Kansas health officials are monitoring 3 people after possible hantavirus exposure.
These are not confirmed cases, but people who were exposed to someone who eventually tested positive. Now, the virus came into the spotlight after passengers aboard the MV Hondius cruise ship became ill. KCTV5's Samantha Boring joins us live in studio to break down what we know about the risk here in Kansas. Samantha?
Lauren Zach, the KDHE says these 3 Kansans were not on the cruise ship, but were traveling internationally. We have asked the state where these people are located, and the KDHE says it will not be sharing that information. KDHE says currently there are no suspected or confirmed cases of hantavirus in Kansas. They add that the risk is extremely low for the public. The CDC says it continues to work with health departments like KDHE to monitor anyone who has symptoms or has come into contact with someone who is sick. KDHE says individuals are not considered to be infectious to others unless they develop symptoms. Those can usually start within 4 to 42 days of exposure, and those symptoms can be fever, fatigue, muscle aches, headaches, or nausea and vomiting. Global health officials say there is an extremely low risk of this outbreak becoming a pandemic, and many health experts say hantavirus is far different from COVID-19 and not nearly as contagious. The KDHE says it will continue to assess the public's risk and provide updates as they come in. Live in studio, Samantha Boring, KCTV5 News.
Samantha, thank you. The World Health Organization says the outbreak has grown to 11 cases worldwide. 3 patients have died. 1 patient in France is on life support. The WHO says all confirmed and suspected cases have been reported among the cruise ship's passengers or crew.